Thank you. Let's start. Good evening, everyone who are present here. We have connected from various parts of the world. And this is a reading forum for the book titled Father Tongue and Motherland, written by Peggy Mohan. This is the third session in that reading forum. Chapter 3 is taken for today's session. And today we have Mr. Manivannan to give us the, walk us through the chapter 3. So let me invite Dr. Arasu Chellaya to formally invite the audience over here.
Vanakkam. It's my pleasure to welcome you all for today's discussion led by Manivannan. He is a scholar, very much involved in Tamil development. இந்த குழுமத்துக்கு உங்கள் அனைவரையும் வரவேற்பதில் பெருமகிழ்ச்சி அடைகிறேன். முனைவர் பாமா அவர்கள் குறிப்பிட்டது போல் இந்த புத்தகம் பெக்கி மோகன், Father's Tongue, Motherland, The Birth of Language in South Asia, 3வது உரை. இதில் ஒரே ஒரு கருத்து தான், நாம் இப்படி படிக்கும்போது ஆழமாக செல்ல முடியும். நாம் மேலெழுந்தவரியாக நாம் தெரிந்திருப்போம், சிலவற்றில் நாம் ஆழமாக புரிந்திருப்போம். இது போன்ற நூல்கள் படிப்பதனால், தொடர்ந்து படிப்பதனால் சில கருத்துக்களை ஆழமாக கற்க முடியும். தொடர் கல்வி, நம்ம வள்ளுவர் சொல்வதுதான், யாதானும் நாடாமல் ஊராமால் என்னொருவன் சாந்துணையும் கல்லாதவாறு என்கிறார். அதுபோல தொடர் கல்வி முக்கியம். இதில் அறிவியல் பார்வை மிக மிக அவசியமாக நாங்கள் எடுத்துக்கொண்ட புத்தக குழுவில் எடுத்துக்கொள்ளப்படுகிறது. எப்பொருள் யார் யார் வாய் கேட்பினும் அப்பொருள் மெய்ப்பொருள் காண்பதறிவு, எப்பொருள் எத்தன்மை தாயினும் அப்பொருள் மெய்ப்பொருள் காண்பதறிவு என்ற வள்ளுவர் வாக்குப்படி அறிவியல் கண்ணோட்டத்தோடு படிக்கப்படுகிறது. இந்த உரை நிகழ்வுக்கு உங்கள் அனைவரையும் மீண்டும் வரவேற்று மகிழ்கிறேன். வணக்கம்.
Thank you very much, Aya. So now let me invite Dr. Raj Muttarasan to formally introduce our speaker, Mr. Manivannan.
Okay, thank you. I'll do both in English and Tamil. I see Geeta among the audience. I know she's not a person who's conversant with Tamil. I'll first do it in Tamil and then summarize in English. இன்னைக்கு பேச வருவர் மணிவண்ணன், தமிழ் இணையத்தின் முன்னோடிகளில் ஒருவர். கணினி தமிழின் பன்னாட்டு அமைப்பான உலகத் தமிழ் தகவல் தொழில் நுட்ப மன்றம், அது அப்ரிவியேஷன் உத்தமம், அழகான பெயர், என்ற இன்டர்நேஷனல் ஃபோரம் ஃபார் இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் டெக்னாலஜி, இன்ஃபிட் என்ற அமைப்பின் நிறுவனர்களில் ஒருவர். கலிஃபோர்னியாவில் ஃபாஸ்டர் சிட்டியில் 2002 தமிழ் இணைய மாநாட்டை நடத்தினார். பின்னர் 2012 உத்தமத்தின், அதாவது இந்த ஆர்கனைசேஷனுடைய பேரு, உத்தமத்தின் தலைவராக பொறுப்பேற்று தமிழகத்தில் அண்ணாமலை பல்கலைக்கழகத்தில் நடந்த தமிழ் இணைய மாநாட்டுக்கும் தலைமை தாங்கினார். பிறகு உத்தமத்தின் இந்திய கிளையின் தலைவராகவும் தமிழ் யூனிகோடு பணிக்குழுவின் தலைவராகவும் செயலாற்றி வந்தார். தமிழக அரசின் சார்பிலும் உத்தமத்தின், அதாவது இந்த அப்ரிவேட்டட் ஆர்கனைசேஷன் பேரு, உத்தமத்தின் சார்பிலும் யூனிகோடு நுட்ப குழுவின் கூட்டங்களில் கலந்து கொண்டு வந்திருக்கிறார். தமிழக அரசின் தமிழ் யூனிகோடு அறிவுரைஞர் குழுவிலிருந்து அரசின் தரத்தை உருவாக்கியவர்களில் இவரும் ஒருவர். யூனிகோடு கிறந்த குறியீடு பற்றிய தமிழக அரசின் நீதியரசர் மோகன் குழுவில் உறுப்பினராக இருந்தார். உத்தமத்தின் கலை செல்லாளர் குழுவின் தலைவராக இருந்தார். இவரது கனித்தமிழின் தொண்டை பாராட்டி கனடாவில் இருக்கும் இலக்கிய தோட்டம் என்ற அமைப்பு 2014 ஜூன் மாதத்தில் டொரண்டோ நகரில் இவருக்கு சுந்தர ராமசுவாமி தமிழ் கனிமை விருது வழங்கி போற்றியது. சான் பிரான்சிஸ்கோ தமிழ் மன்றத்திற்கு 2 முறை தலைவராக இருந்த இவர் அங்கிருந்து வெளிவரும் தென்றல் இதழின் ஆசிரியராக 2002 முதல் 2005 வரை பணியாற்றினார். இவரது கருத்துக்களை பிபிசி தமிழோசை மற்றும் நீயா நானா நிகழ்ச்சியில் அவ்வப்போது காணலாம். அண்மையில் அமெரிக்காவில் தகவல் தொழில்நுட்ப பாதுகாப்பு தொழிற் நிறுவனம் ஒன்றை தொடங்கியுள்ளார். For the purposes of who do not understand Tamil, we have our speaker today is Mr. Manivannan. He's a distinguished person who has been engaged in from very early stage, almost 25 years ago, in creating a platform for Tamilizing the internet version. That is, Unicode is a technology for how to represent Tamil letters in using the platform that is used by computers. So that transition, that ability to do that via computers, they have contributed to as part of a larger group through an organization called Uttamam, and he has served as the president of that organization, and he has conducted several workshops and conferences, including the one in San Francisco in 2002 and also in 2012 at Annamalai University. And is also recognizing his contribution to this field. The Toronto organization that promotes a great deal of Tamil oriented development in 2014 with a special prize known as that particular one is known as Sundara Ramaswamy Tamil Kanimai Virudu, which is for that particular that name is name of that prize is called named after the donor Ramaswamy, and he has served as the president of the San Francisco Tamil Sangam several years. And he has participated in many interviews at BBC and in the popular talk show Nia Nana. And you'll find that in YouTube if you are curious. And recently he has been involved in starting the organization on what is called as a Takaval information, finer arts and technology associated with information in America. With that, let me invite Mani. I hope I did a decent job of translating that of the material that you had given. Welcome him to begin with the discussion on chapter 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Raj. Doing it dynamically, translating dynamically is never easy. But you did an amazing job. Thank you very much. Let me see if I can share this. Okay, slideshow. Are you able to see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you very much. This is very frightening topic when you say taming of the ergative dragon. The dragon is a frightening word, and true to that, I was struggling with this chapter, trying to understand it, particularly because this feature doesn't exist in Tamil, and the examples that are given are in languages that I don't know. So I have only scratched the surface of it. But what I tried to do in this presentation is to go to the heart of why she was exploring this. What is the purpose of doing that, and how she connects the dots. So, framing up the ergative dragon, and I tried to get an image that's multi-headed monster, fire breathing. At the same time, you have to go under the boulder to discover the goods, as described by the author.
I have one suggestion. We have
Okay.
that screen sharing ribbon on top of it, like we see it as a black window. Can you?
Okay. How do I
I
make
think
it
you
go
have
away?
put like you have pinned it. You can remove the pin.
Okay, let me see. I'm going to stop sharing. Oh, can you see it now?
Yeah, thank you.
Now it's gone, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Little better, but it's all fine. Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay. Let me see. All right. The summary of this chapter is essentially this. There is a feature called ergative grammatical feature that's found primarily in the northwestern Indian languages. And the author concludes that it points to deep ancient influences, possibly from an extinct Indus Valley language, or probably some other language, language X, or maybe even from Sanskrit, and how that differs radically from the structure of today's South Indian languages. That is the essential summary of the chapter. The entire book goes through the concept of human migration and how it connects to various languages and language features. So the first migration into India was about 70,000 years ago. And that migration was by both men and women. And without that, they wouldn't have survived. And along with them, they brought language or languages with them. And those languages and language features still are present in modern languages, according to her. And more importantly, the modern Indians pretty much trace all our maternal lineage to the people who came 70,000 years ago. That hasn't changed. And that is remarkable. That points to the other argument that she makes, which is the subsequent human migrations into India were primarily male, mostly men oriented, and they married the local women, and that influenced our culture and language. And she explains how this comes about. This is about 12,000 to 9,000 years ago, the Iranian farmers. In all likelihood, they were the precursor to Dravidians and probably Indus Valley civilization. The next one is the Southeast Asian migration, about 4,000 years ago. That is also male-driven. They brought rice to India, and they also brought some linguistic influences on the northeastern languages, all the way up to Magadha. The next one is the steppe migration, which is to the northwest of the subcontinent. This is the Vedic Aryan migration. This is also primarily male-driven. All of this is substantiated by genetic evidence. Then about 1,000 to 600 years ago, another male-driven migration that was from Central Asia. These are the Delhi Sultanates and the Mughals. They also have linguistic and cultural influences on India, along with genetic influences. And the most recent one, European, their influence on modern Indian languages is also substantial, though their genetic influence is not that much. So this leads to her language models. The predominant model today is the model A, the one parent model of a language. All languages derive from some root language, and their branches come about because of various differences. Just one tree, one root to multiple branches, and they spread. So this is the orthodox model. Model B is the one that the author subscribes to, and she calls it the tiramisu bear model. Tiramisu bear is a concocted name that her daughter came up with. Essentially, it talks about the breeding between grizzly bears, which normally don't go up to polar north, and polar bear females. Because of climate changes, grizzly bears are now able to cross into the northern territories when the polar bear females are available for mating. And polar bears typically cannot come south because of their paw. They cannot walk on the ground. So we know for a fact that polar bears cannot migrate south, but grizzly bears are able to migrate north. And this mixture, the interbreeding results in this tiramisu bear. And this is the model that she subscribed to describe languages. And just like, you can say from looking at this animal, that this is an animal that comes from two different bears. Languages also have evidences, and that remains as the bone rather than the flesh. She calls the words as flesh and the grammatical structure as the bone. And the other thing that she notices is that just like animals, predominantly male animals are the ones that migrated, and female animals very seldom migrate. And that's also true of humans. And mostly young males are the ones who migrate. So when new migrants arrive, her model is if the encounter is between the men of both groups, then they usually have some sort of a trade agreement. So some sort of a trade language or a pidgin is sufficient for them to transact. On the other hand, if the new migrants take local women as wives, their children first learn the language from their mothers. And from their mothers, they learn the grammatical structure, syntax, and all of that. Words are something that they learn from their father after the age of 5. So she calls that model to be the Prakrit model rather than the Pidgin Creole model. So Sanskrit and Prakrits are not pidgins. Sanskrit is a language that was brought with them by the Indo-Aryans, and Prakrit were even Sanskrit to a significant extent developed in India by taking attributes of the languages that they encountered in the Northwest. And Prakrit certainly has substantial influences from the Indian languages in the North. At the same time, these earlier languages persisted, and we can discover what those earlier languages through intense analysis and discovery of the grammatical structure. So the languages simply replace their vocabulary, and that's how these mixed languages evolve. She repeatedly talks about 12th century for the emergence of the mixed languages of North India. When she talks about 12th century, she talks about 12th century Common Era. That is after the arrival of the sultanates. And the other thing is when the Indus Valley civilization declined, their people migrated south about 4,000 years ago. So that certainly has influence on the southern languages. So she is trying to reconcile that with whatever evidence that she collects from the northwestern Indian languages. So how do you find this mysterious language X that influenced the northwestern languages? So you identify the features in sound system and grammar and try to analyze those and see what features in Indo-Aryan languages are not present or not from the Sanskrit or Prakrit in these modern Indian languages. How do they compare with features in other languages outside of Indus Valley periphery? And that includes the Dravidian languages and Northwestern languages, and even Magadha Bengali language. So these are the features that she thinks are important. The major features as identified by her are the full retroflexion, Valai na oli. That is something that Tamils are very familiar with. All the Dravidian languages have the retroflexion. Voiceless aspirates. Voiced aspirates are interesting features. She also talks about that. Full ergativity, and we'll come to that ergativity dragon a little bit later. Natural gender, grammatical gender, and the gender agreement with verbs, object marking, and postpositions. These are attributes that she analyzes and compares the modern Indian languages of the Northwest with Sanskrit, Prakrits, and other Indian languages. She also considers the others as a possible feature, but she hasn't spent a lot of time to make any particular conclusion about that. So, the forensic linguistics of Peggy Mohan leads her to believe that the biggest difference between the northern and the southern Dravidian is ergativity. What is ergative? Ergative languages mark the doer, agent, or எழுவாய் in Tamil of an action differently from the receiver, object, செய்யப்படுபொருள் in Tamil, especially in the past tense or completed actions. This is unlike the familiar system in Dravidian languages where, oh my God, where the sentence roles are indicated differently and such agent-object marking is mostly absent. I'm going to quickly switch to the slide that Professor Raj shared last time and see if I can get it right. Are you able to see it?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So this is an example in both Hindi and in Tamil. Good man, good woman, Nalla Manivan, Nalla Print. He came, Acha Admi, Achi
It's the
Aurat.
second slide that you want to go to.
Oh, okay,
This-
all right. Let me go to.
This one is just,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
correct.
okay, this is negativity versus nominative. Okay. Ram came, Ram ate fruit. Ram comes, Ram eats fruit. This is very familiar in Tamil too. And in Hindi, Ram aya, Ram ne phal khaya. That ne is the one that reflects the ergativity. But other than that, it is Ram phal khaya is probably the intransitive as well. Ram आता है, राम फल खाता है. Okay. அவன் வந்தான், அவன் பழத்தை சாப்பிட்டான், அவன் வருகிறான், அவன் பழத்தை சாப்பிடுகிறான். So this is the example. Let me go back to the slide. Okay. This is something that I looked at in her book, where she talks about this ergativity being present in Ashoka's inscriptions. So, so I eat food is Khana Kati Hu. I'm going to kill this. My Khana Kati Ha Hu and Maine Khana Khaya. Okay, that's the example. The closest in Tamil that I can see that is the equivalent of the Ashokan inscription is என் ஆணையின்படி அணை திறந்தது, என் கட்டளையின்படி கதவு திறந்தது. By my order, the dam was open. My command, the door opened. So she gives a map of the ergative variants of extended Indus Valley periphery. It is found only in the languages of this area. It is completely absent in Dravidian languages. It is also absent in the Magadhan language. There is the Bihari, Bengali, and the northeastern languages. It is absent in early Vedic Sanskrit, and even later, Sanskrit doesn't completely adapt it, but Prakrits start to show ergativity. What about the neighboring languages? So Sinhalese has weak partial. Burmese doesn't have it. Tibetan has ergativity. Maldivian doesn't seem to have significant ergativity. Nepali and Assamese have split ergativity. classical Dakni, that's something that we discussed last week, that has it. And Monsong and Ladakhi, Tibeto-Burman languages, they have a strong presence of ergativity. The interesting thing is that ergativity is present in Amharic in Africa, as well as Australian Aboriginal languages. So she thinks that ergativity is probably present in very ancient languages, and they were probably lost in later languages. So that is the reason why you find it both in the extreme of the arc, from Africa to Australia, and also in the mysterious language X. So this is the Ashokan inscription that I was referring to earlier. Iyam Dhammalipi Devanam Piyana Piyadasina Lahina Lekhita. I probably mangled it, but by me, King Devanam Piya Piyadasi, beloved of the gods, the slaughter, death, and captivity of war have been considered extremely grievous. This is a classic ergative style construction. By me is marked, while the action have been considered is passive or impersonal. So I have also given the Prakrit Brahmi script. So this is the Tamil equivalent. En aanayal, en seigayal, idu naan seidadu, en seigayal kovil tirupani mudindadu. I vaguely recall that such constructions are present in the later Chola inscriptions of the imperial Cholas, but I was not able to find the exact quote, so I'm not going to say that this certainly was there, but this seems to be the closest equivalent to ergativity in Tamil that I can come up with. So key ideas. She talks about the little people. So people, the women and their children who married the migrants, they kept their language. They didn't, their language completely didn't disappear. So only when Prakrit's influence declined, only when sultanates started to command, they felt free to modify their modern languages with the ancient features. That is her speculation. And that is why we see the modern Northwestern Indian languages to have this thing very clearly, whereas Sanskrit has very little and Prakrit has a little. So the little people's influence is something that she points out. Grammar is carried across time. So you always have the traces. She calls it something like the metaphorical bone of a language. Lost languages still echo in Northwestern speech. And the other thing that she mentions in the book and also in her speeches is that the Indus Valley did not possibly have one single language, but probably had a family of languages. So there may have been multiple variants, just like modern Dravidian languages do, because they are too wide, too distant, and they didn't have sufficient networking in those days. So certainly they would have had multiple languages. Sanskrit and Prakrit did not completely erase the traces of the older structures. Under Sultanate kingdoms, the little people resurrected their ancient ergative structure, particularly in Hindi. Some of the open questions that she has is, what is this language X? In all probability, that is the language of the Indus Valley. But it could be something else too. That is what is shaping Hindi and other Northwestern Indian languages. Grammar is a ghostly inheritance, according to her. Ergative is a kind of a whisper from the past. Dravidian languages not having this is probably because they had less contact with Northwest migrant men, is the conclusion that she makes. We need to check that against the genetic data and also linguistic data. And gender transmission, migrant men and local women in the north, but that's also present in the south. Her theory is this: features such as retroflexion, that is Valaina Oli, aspiration, Katroli, grammatical, gender, or perhaps more ancient remains of languages of the first people. She thinks that they are probably not the sole attribute of the Dravidian languages, and it could be from the people who migrated into India 70,000 years ago. That's probably why such features are present both in Africa and in Australia. She says that Australian Aboriginal languages have very strong retroflexion, and that's something that is well known to Tamils also. But ergativity seems to be unique to the IVC periphery, and it's a remnant that is still alive in the extended periphery in the grammatical structure of the little people. It is completely absent in the other areas, mostly absent in the South Asia. With these ideas, the author explores what this mysterious language X could have been and what features it could have had. She concludes that the language X had full ergativity, as did very ancient languages from Africa to Australia. And that is probably the language that the Indus Valley people spoke. Languages are a fusion of multiple influences driven by both fathers and mothers is the one idea that you should take from this chapter. With that, I conclude my presentation.
Thank you very much, Mani. The floor is open to questions and comments. First, let's take questions.
Mani, what do you think of Tamil origin or evolution in these things?
My personal opinion may not necessarily agree with what Dr. Peggy Mohan says, but her conclusion is that there is strong evidence that some features, at least this ergativity feature, is one of the strong evidences that the Northwestern languages are closer to the language of the people of the Indus Valley. This is something that I think we also talked about with Professor Raj. It is highly likely, that's something that we cannot, ignore. It's highly likely that Tamil and other Dravidian languages are probably remnants of the people who came 70,000 years ago, or something like that, or it evolved. And it may have influenced Indus Valley language too. But it's possible that Indus Valley and the Tamil culture, Tamil civilization were probably parallel civilization. But these are all speculative. Until we have archaeological evidence to that, we cannot definitely say something. But her opinion that North Dravidian languages are different from South Dravidian languages is a hint. We have to explore that.
Thank you.
Dr. Raj?
Oh, my comment. I think you are absolutely right. Indus Valley was such a large area. There were perhaps multiple languages. And from the statues, we know they didn't look like any one of us. They looked very Negroidal. There is a Kenoyer paper where they had excavated, they looked at skeletal structures. People had face jutting out, and they had extremely curly hair. And so they were like Negroes, if you will. So they had very Negroidal features. And there are people in South India who have Negroidal features. That's a physical aspect of it. The other point that I wanted to make, there are many, many points. It's a very open question. Clearly, we could spend a whole time discussing it. People in the genetic field talk about genetic gradient. For example, as you look at the percent of genome that is of a particular origin, you see a gradation from one end to the other end. For example, the number of people who carry R1A haplogroup is lowest in Tamil Nadu, and it is highest in Punjab area. So there is a gradient of that. And now if you look at genomic content of people, the southern people have a larger amount of more ancient genes compared to people in the northeast. And that's because people mixed and they have different gradation. Similarly, one makes a linguistic gradient. For example, the adjacent state of Kannada and Telugu and Malayalam, when they speak, we cannot understand everything if you're a Tamil speaker, but you can understand some parts of it. But if you go even further, you will understand less of what they speak and so on and so forth. So linguistic gradient is, for example, the two main features: postposition, that is, versus preposition, to school versus school to, schoolukku, or to school. In Dravidian languages, we add after the object or after the noun. That characteristics goes all the way from Sumeria, Elam, to, we don't know what Indus, but it is present in some versions of Marathi and of course in Kannada and Tamil. So that is what one call as a linguistic gradient. So there is a gradation of this. Peggy Macon, one of the unique contribution of her work is phonemes. The retroflex phoneme is present in Tamil. There are 5 retroflex phonemes. It is in Punjabi and Sanskrit. There are only 3, but she would argue that they were borrowed by the incoming Aryans. And the retroflex phoneme is totally absent in Iranian plateau. It's absent in Indo-Aryan languages of Europe, if you will. So that is a borrowed. And the other important connection is retroflex phoneme is also present in Australian Aborigines, right? Which I think money made them out. So that tells us there is a connectivity of some sort between Tamil and, of course, what they spoke in Indus Valley. Not necessarily one for one. There's always a possibility. People migrated, as long as what we know is, according to some scholars, haplogroup L dominated Indus Valley because they were the Iranian farmers. But there were already people there who had haplogroup H, which is an ancient one, and haplogroup F, which is a very ancient one, and haplogroup C. So there were a blend of possibly L, who broke, we don't know what language they spoke, and whatever they were speaking there, which would be more native, and that combination would have been present there itself. Now again, we are still thinking about a single language for IVC, which is probably incorrect. There were multiple different languages. And also when you look at the statues that are available, we have alpine faces. There is one statue that's available with a face that has a longish, that is the anthropologists take the ratio of this distance to this distance. And that tends to be higher if you're from Europe, if you will. While for people from India, southern, this to the ratio is approximately 1. And so skeletons provide a great deal of information about the anthropological characteristic of the people. And so there are mixed population that was present in Indus Valley. There is no doubt about it. And that is the case in every state in Tamil Nadu. Every Tamil speaker have combination of different genomic characteristic, if you will. So it's a blended culture, and I might say blended language as well. Now, if somebody claims, I hope I don't get beaten up for this, that Tamil is pure, that would be incorrect because languages evolve. They don't remain stationary from my perspective. They evolve. Suppose we transported ourselves to Rajaraja Cholan's time and we spoke in our Tamil, he will not understand what we are speaking. If he spoke Tamil, we would not understand what he's speaking. That means over 1,000 years, Tamil has changed. Now imagine 5,000 years ago, which is Indus Valley, 4,000 years ago, it would have gone through a lot of changes, right? So, and of course, the fact that the model A, which I subscribe to that simply because languages evolve. I think all of us understand that. For example, we have American Tamil too. Just like how we have Madurai Tamil, we have Tirunelveli Tamil. There's an American Tamil. My good friend Prabhakaran, whom of course Arasu Chellaya knows, he calls the Tamil we speak in America as Panni, pig Tamil, because we use the word Panni after every verb. You know, talk பண்ணினே இருந்தான் அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. Right? It's a
Right.
common language that the American Tamils use. But anyway, that's a long story towards this. But I also want to highlight another important point. I haven't settled this in my own argument. She uses the argument of Prakrit as being a language that evolved in India after the Aryans came, and I think that is present in her underlying arguments. Zagros Mountain, the IVC climb, there is one R2 there, and there is one J2, and there are two Ls. So people from Central Asia were already there in the Zagros region, 6th, 7th century, 6th, 7th millennium BCE. Now, if you come to India, every state has at least 10% R2, including Adivasis, every caste and every religion. R2 of people from Central Asia. If Sanskrit, an Indo-European language, birthplace is Central Asia, then R2 people would have spoken some version of Central Asian, early version of Vedic Sanskrit. And that would have also come into India going back to a much earlier time than when the Vedic people came, right? That's an open question, by the way. There is, to my knowledge, nobody has really dug into that space. So, although in the slides Mani showed the early 70,000 years ago, and then the 8,000 years ago, the Iranian farmers, and then of course the later on the 1,000, 12,000, 1,200, 2,000 years, 4,000 years ago, the Aryans, and then 1,000 years ago, the Muslim. There is R2 somewhere. I don't know where they fit in, but they did bring in their culture and their language, not necessarily religion. That is an open question. And so I'll leave that there with an open question rather than answering your question, Mani.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
I was curious about ergativity in neighboring languages. This is something that sometimes Dr. Peggy Mohan talks about. She emphasizes that the Andamanese have ergativity, which is completely isolated. Nevertheless, it is present. And it is present in Australian Aborigine language as well. Okay, retroflexion is the Valaina Vali. When you roll back your tongue, the la, ra, what else?
Vallinam ra
What-
and
Ta.
ra, la, na, the மூணு
Da
சுழி na.
also. Okay. Typically people have told me whenever we say Indian, that D sound that we make is retroflexed. That's something that always puzzles the Americans because that is not their D. Their D is more Nuninawali. Yeah, certainly all Dravidian languages have retroflexion. Kannada, Telugu, Malayalam certainly, and they can do Ragaram better than Tamils too. But what surprised me is that retroflexion is present in Andamanese and Amharic, which is a Eastern African language, I think. And also, I knew that it's also present in the Australian Aboriginal languages. Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Raj.
The remark I wanted to make is Peggy Morgan has done a detailed study of retroflex presence in current day Indian languages. She counts the number of retroflex phonemes.
Right.
It is highest in South India, Tamil Nadu, and it decreases as you go further up north. For example, Punjabi has only 2 or 3, while in Tamil, I think we have 4 or 5, and it is totally absent in Far East, like Assam and all of that. She has a very nice paper on this, by the way. It's a published paper, and if I can find it, I'll send that to you. She has a very nice, beautiful map of this, how the phonemes have been adopted. And she claims the retroflex phonemes are absent in Vedic Sanskrit, but in Panini Sanskrit, they're present. Not the full-fledged, but part of it is present, apparently. And she says that it is a borrowed phoneme into Panini Sanskrit.
She also mentions that the Punjabis do not have voiced aspirates. That is, they don't have sound. That surprised me because I thought aspirates are absent only in Tamil, but Punjabis also lack some aspirates. When she jokes that a Punjabi can take a Punjabi song, replace all of their words with Tamil nouns, and it will be beautiful. So,
by the way, since you mentioned about Andamanese language, I think I mentioned this about inclusive V and exclusive V. We have only 2 versions, right? Nam, Nangal, right? On the other hand, in the Andamanese, they have versions that affect by tense as well as by the present tense and past tense. So there are 4 versions of exclusivity and inclusivity. So in one way, you could think about it, it's possible that Tamil is the simplified version of the exclusivity and inclusivity the Andamanese use. And Telugu is more complex compared to Tamil in terms of inclusivity and exclusivity. I think they have 3 versions compared to, like angu, ingu, unguன்னு இருக்குல்ல the near person and the far person.
Sri Lankan Tamils also have that.
Hmm?
Sri Lankan Tamil has that.
Yeah, of course, it's in
It's
Tamil,
also
but
in
it's
ancient, it's in
and
ancient Tamil too.
it's absent in northern languages.
Right.
So we have a reference to they, a person who is within a earshot, and to a person who is not within earshot.
Avan, even, when.
One, right. The 3 1. And so the inclusivity, exclusivity is actually part of that gradation, if you will, in the same way.
Okay, makes sense.
I
The
have
modern
just
Tamil lost the when completely. That surprises me.
Sir, this is Geeta here. I didn't understand that last bit about that gradation of relationship, inclusivity and exclusivity.
Okay, let me try to come. So,
Yes.
in the inclusivity is when I'm speaking to you, I can say, I went to school, or you and I went to school. In Tamil, you'll use only one word, nam ponam, that is, we went, which includes you and I, or I can say, we went, which is exclusive of you.
Manam, yeah, in Telugu we have that.
Yeah, Telugu has this.
Manam Vellamu means we too have gone. Mem Vellamu means we have gone but without you.
Yeah, that is a property of Dravidian languages. Same thing is there in Malayalam, in Kannada, and also interestingly, it's present in Marathi and it's present in Jaipuri, but it's absent in Hindi, it's absent in Sanskrit.
Yeah. In Hindi, we say hum gaye. Whether we went with you or without you, it's always hum gaye.
Right.
Okay, I got that.
In Gujarati, the same Nam Nangal, the same inclusive and exclusive is present.
Okay.
So you can track from Rajasthan to Gujarat to Marathi to Tamil Nadu, that character. I have argued that is a cultural character, that the words we create in a language is because of the way we speak or the way our culture is. And so that has been present in ancient languages, I would like to say. So the Indo-European languages don't have that feature. Now, the same thing, if you go into Andamanese, their language, they have the same, we have only two, right? The inclusive V and exclusive V. They have different ways of expressing that in present tense and past tense. So 2 times 2, 4 different
Okay.
versions.
Uh-huh.
And I think Telugu has got 3 versions, if I remember right. It's not 4.
Okay. Manivannan. Okay, let me ask my daughter-in-law. She knows Telugu better than me.
Well, Google might be able to help you, believe it or not.
Okay.
No, I learned this through Google. I'll post it into the group because I did a little study of this a few years ago. And so, but anyway, these are the other point that Mani was making was when we say I, you, they. So in Tamil, I'm sure it's probably in Telugu too. I, you, they who is nearby, they who is far away. There are 4. So and similarly, and of course correspondingly, but Telugu will have this, right? I do not know whether. By the way, in the modern Tamil, they far away and they nearby is put into the same place.
That is in mainland Tamil Nadu, not in Sri Lankan Tamil. They still
Sri Lankan
retain
Tamil,
that.
they still use it.
Yeah.
மணி அதோட எக்ஸாம்பிள் சொல்லுங்க. என்ன கொஞ்சம் தே தவிர தெரிஞ்சிருக்கலாம் எனக்கு.
அவர்கள் இவர்கள் அவர்கள் இவர்கள் அதான்
Avan, Ivan, Uvan.
உவன்
Uvan is somebody in between. Avan is the distant, that far away guy. Ivan is the nearby. Uvan is somewhere in between.
The general description, grammarian, Uvan means somebody who is within your earshot, if you will.
Right.
Oh, I was not aware of that Uvan. Even and Avan, yes, I'm aware. Okay.
But
So-
it is also there in our grammatical text. Tolkappiyam has it, but it has disappeared from our literary language for at least 1,000 years. That is why it is surprising that the Sri Lankan Tamils retained it in spoken language.
I wonder whether it's there in Malayalam.
Oh, that's a good question.
Because many of the words that are in Sangalakyam
அவண்ட
are
கண்ட.
still.
Yeah.
You can actually Google Uvan and you'll get mostly Sri Lankan Tamil references. You will not see a single Tamil Nadu reference because
We're having a very
completely
open
lost it.
discussion. I wonder whether we could focus back on ergativity.
Yeah, really.
I have a question. Actually, I have a question. The question is, why do you feel like ergativity would have been there, first of all? Because ergativity is something between an agent and an object, where the subject is left out. Is my understanding correct?
Subject is not left out. I think the
Something
verb,
goes through modification in
Right.
past tense, not in present tense.
like,
Okay, me food eat. It's actually I eat the food. So where by me food eat is something what ergativity means. Is that correct?
by me,
Food eat.
Food
Eat.
eat. Yeah.
So this is where an agent. It's just between the agent and an object, and your subject is left out. So I was really curious why people would have spoken like that. Why a subject is not given.
Subject is important. By me is important, right? That is how you referred. Who actually ate it? That's me. So by
Yeah.
me, the food was eaten.
No, but
So
when
the past perfect is the closest thing to ergativity.
But when Peggy is saying, she's seeing that by me as the agent and food as the object. So that is how she's representing actually the first few.
Oh, yeah.
She's saying ergativity is something between the agent and an object rather than with the subject. That is how she's defining. I understood the way, but please correct me if I'm wrong.
That's a good thing.
My simple way of understanding this is the subject gets modified. Usually adjectives gets modified depending upon what the object is, right? What the noun it describes it. But here, the actor, the noun, the subject itself gets modified. For example, if I were to make the example, I would say, Avan சாப்பிடுகிறான், he eating. Avan சாப்பிட்டான். Avan doesn't go through any changes. Imagine the following. Avan சாப்பிடுகிறான். Avane சாப்பிட்டான். The avane is the modifier that Sanskrit uses, Hindi uses to impose the ergativity. So the subject itself goes through a modifier. Am I correct, Mani?
Yeah, that's correct.
Ramne, Fal, Kaya, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
The subject gets modified. You know, in Tamil, subject never gets modified, right?
Never gets modified.
Whether it is a male or a female, it gets modified. But the same subject, if it's a male, it remains a male, right?
Yeah. By me, the cat.
My name.
Object marker. My name. Khana Kaya. I ate food. Yeah. We don't say nane unavai sapitain. We don't say that.
சொல்லலாம், but it means only you ate, right?
Yeah, that's true. Ennal unavu சாப்பிடப்பட்டது. That's passive.
That becomes a passive. So one more question is, what is the difference between your passive and your ergativity? If I'm just exploring. So
yeah, that's a good question. I was confused about it. Okay.
It's in between.
It is in between.
It's a half-baked
past
passive
perfect
voice.
only.
Because
it feels like half-baked.
Because she says, like in the tribal languages, they often use "buy me food eat."
Right.
Even in the high hill station, she's saying like that is how people speak. "Buy me food eat." So for us, it looks
all tenses too. It is not just for past perfect.
Yeah. Then she's saying only in Punjabi and Hindi for past tense they are using this, but in the other tenses it is not used.
Yeah, that's right.
So she's saying that. So I had a question. Why should people talk like that? So why buy me food eat? So later it has changed. It when it goes on, like it has got modified. So why would have people first used a sentence like that? Buy me food eat. So I was just comparing with the AI. So when you learn for the AI foundational models, you give all the words in, and it goes in for the embeddings and vector search. It finds the real nearest wordings, and then it translates it into a new sentence. So I was just curious with comparing those two models.
According to her, this is probably how human languages first evolved. That is, full ergativity is the norm for ancient people, all the way stretching from Africa to Australia. And then we started to lose them slowly. And it got resurrected when the little people gained power. That's her interpretation. But it was always present. They never lost the old languages. They spoke among themselves. They probably weren't written down. And it started to influence the modern Indian languages. At least that's how I read it. If your question is, why did they ever come up with this originally? We don't know. That's according to her, it was always there.
Okay. Because she says still people in the high stations, like hill stations, they still talk this language. That is how she's mentioning in the chapters. So
Which
just
is not
had a question.
surprising. if they had it, they probably are not going to change it. But the proper question is, why would humans come up with that? What was the reason for ergativity? But this is a dragon. It's people have speculated about ergativity in German and Sanskrit, and then eventually came to the conclusion that they didn't have full ergativity in either of them.
Yeah, thank you.
Other questions or comments?
Narendra had one, but she left. I have I don't have it on ergativity, but I have a very general question. So, Guru, in the migrations, when you understand the migrations, it is all out of Africa theory. And at some point of time, this languages are the new languages are formed, right? So for Tamil, Dravidian languages, we always quote this Proto-Dravidian as might be the root, and Elamite is one of them is referred to. So similarly, for the Indo-Aryan languages or the Indo-European languages, what would be the Proto-Indo-Aryan languages or Indo-European languages?
I think the proto language itself is a construct, right? We don't know. We don't have any evidence. If there is any evidence that a particular language existed, you would name it. So there is a reason why we call it Proto-Dravidian. The Indus Valley language is speculated to be a proto-language of all the Dravidian languages. So similarly, there is a thing called Proto-Indo-European. There is also Proto-Indo-Iranian. Theoretically, Vedic is not exactly Sanskrit, right? Only Paninian Sanskrit is the proper Sanskrit. Vedic was definitely a different language, even though it is a precursor to the Paninian language. Before Vedic itself is influenced by Dravidian. It has retroflex. It has attributes that the other Indo-European languages do not have. So it was influenced by the Indian languages. That means that before Vedic, there must have been a proto-language, Proto-Indo-Iranian, perhaps. We don't know what they were. They are speculated, and scholars often talk about this is perhaps how they sounded like. And when you see their papers, there is always an asterisk in front of them, speculating that this is how it sounded. This is how it was structured and all that. But there is, for historical linguistics, we have a problem. We can never prove anything because they were never written down, and we cannot go back in time to find out how it sounded or how even grammatical structure existed. They will always remain speculative. That is why it is, it is not even as close as archaeology, where at least you will have physical evidence. This one is largely speculative, and you need to rationalize it. Raj might have different opinion, but I don't entirely accept linguistics as a science. It uses scientific methods, certainly, but this is the drawback it has. It cannot prove. There is no falsifiability. You cannot prove that, the Kannada did not come from Tamil. There is no way to prove that such an assertion. And when that happens, I am doubtful that
the models are evolving.
What?
Is it because the languages or the models are evolving?
Models are evolving. Not only that, how do you prove it? When somebody says that Kannada came from Tamil, and when somebody says no, it didn't.
Mutharasanaya made this point earlier also. People move in groups and they will settle down in a place, and so they tend to have their own language. So Kannada might have evolved like that,
It
similarly
evolves.
Tamil.
Yeah, evolved,
evolved.
but evolved from what? You cannot
from
say that
where?
it evolved from Tamil.
No. But they
The
are the people who have been migrating from Africa,
All of
right?
us,
So
all of
they
us
have,
migrated, right? See, all of us.
yeah.
See, the other thing is
But the
that
migrations
from,
are the,
one of the things that it is not in the book, but Peggy talks about it. It is possible that there are substrate languages in the Dravidian too. That is, people spoke some language that predates Dravidian.
Dravidian.
And when people migrated from Indus Valley to the south, they absorbed the local language. And the same theory that she has, the Dravidian men or the Indus Valley men came down south and intermarried with the women
In the
of the
Dravidian.
south, and that language eventually became Tamil, Kannada, Malayalam, and Telugu. If that's the case, we should be able to find traces of that in our modern languages.
that seems
because the
reasonable to
mothers
me.
have.
Yeah, that's a substrate model. So far, the thing is, there are some names that we cannot find roots in Dravidian. That's much to my surprise. Kaveri is supposed to be one of them, as is Palakkad. I thought Palakkadu is a proper Tamil name, and Kaveri is a proper Tamil name. You can find roots, Ka and Viri. But Palakkadu, for some reason, is not considered to be of Dravidian origin, and it may have come from something that predates Tamil. So that was news to me. But there are some things like that in all of the Dravidian languages that we cannot find roots in Dravidian languages themselves. If that is true, and here is the thing, like the Vedas, like the Andamanis, I'm sure there were people in the south, and they probably spoke a language that is not Dravidian, not Tamil.
Yeah, that possibility exists. Very strong possibility.
Okay.
Anything else?
I think we are beyond time. If anyone has one or two questions.
No, one question. So you're saying that other than Tamil, there were other Dravidian languages present, is it?
No, there were languages
See,
that predated Dravidian.
predated.
Before the Dravidian language came down south, the ancient peoples, the first peoples of India, probably
Okay,
spoke
out
a
of
language that is,
Africa.
oh yeah, the people who came 70,000 years ago, they spoke a language.
Yeah.
But that language would be very primitive, right?
70,000 years is a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, Dravidians came to India perhaps 5,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago. So when you compare 70,000 to say 7,000, that's a lot of time. People
But
would have.
we must also keep in mind, people who came 70,000 years ago would have settled, and of course, they would have developed a settlement. They would have spoken a language, or whatever language they spoke. But then people from the north did continue to come in, because we see the presence of haplogroup L in Tamil Nadu and in the South India.
Right.
So they interacted, and of course, as a result of that, the newer languages, maybe a new Creole version, Tamil Creole version, evolved and then continued to develop. But now this is where I think that I like to make a distinction from my perspective. The fact that you can do postposition, agglutinative character,
Agglutinative character.
provides richness to the language. And I think these two are very important distinctions. Now, what is the origin of this? It goes back to very ancient times, because these two features you can track from Tamil Nadu all the way to Mesopotamia. all the ancient languages had this character. It was absent in the Indo-European languages. And of course, Sanskrit adopted fusion, which is halfway between no agglutinative to agglutinative. It is not a full-fledged agglutinative character, right? And this is what the grammarians call it as a fusion, not a pure agglutinative. The fact that we can stack 5, 6 verbs together in a meaningful way is rather unique to these languages. இது கல்வெட்டுல எல்லாம் இருக்குது இல்லையா?
Right.
And we don't use that many, but now 2, 3 verbs, no problem. But in Chola times, they had 5, 6. I remember one seminar I heard, he illustrated 7 consecutive verbs in one construct. Telugu has the same feature, Kannada has the same feature, Malayalam has the same feature. You cannot do that in English, you cannot do this in Indo-European languages, right?
But was it present 70,000 years ago? That is where Peggy seems to think differently.
My stupid way of thinking or clever way of thinking, when grammar gets very sophisticated, such as in English or whatever, you use clauses instead of trying to combine them. In ancient times, use the verbs one after the other. It's natural. On the other hand, as it becomes synthetic, you want to put clauses, you want to put comma, you want to put conjunctions, etc. So I would argue putting successive verbs is a natural way of speaking, a natural language attribute rather than something that is built in, where grammar develops after the language is yet to develop. But when grammar develops after a language is fully developed, then you have these type of features such as agglutinative as well as the postposition. That's my unproven theory. But anyway, something to think about.
Certainly.
Actually, one more point to add on. When I was searching for the agglutinative suffixes, the other languages were Turkish, Korean, Hungarian, Finnish.
Japanese.
Yeah, but
Japanese.
that is what I gave one sentence and it was able to translate to Turkish, Korean, Hungarian, Finnish, but I don't know whether it's all correct, but it just gave all these languages for suffixes. For this,
I'm working on that project, by the way. By the way, Google Translator, when I used some time ago, there were only about 20 or 30 languages. Now it has about over 100, I think. It goes on. And so I'm working on a project to take all the languages and look at these features, 3 characteristic, postposition, agglutinative, and see what languages do have. It includes, by the way, Google Translator includes extinct languages too, that platform. So it's become a very useful platform to examine. So when I discover any features, I'll put it on the website, on our group site.
And one more point to add on is I just was searching for this case endings when we were talking. And there was one paper which talked about this case endings. And they are saying like there are 5 stages for the case endings. Maybe I'll share in the WhatsApp group. They say first is one stage with no markers at all. Then how case endings are being developed. So it's a full paper. So maybe I'll share it in the WhatsApp for you to just have a look.
Very useful.
To me, the fact that the postposition, வீட்டுக்கு, right, versus to house. So when you look at the construct, the preposition and the noun or object seem to be would have occurred as a fundamental construct, right? Like in German, it'll be zu Haus, right? It's a preposition, which is the natural fundamental property of Indo-European languages. On the other hand, Tamil, it is வீட்டுக்கு, or that type of a thing. So if you think about it, in ancient times, he has a word for வீடு. He didn't have to create a new word to say to house, but instead he said வீட்டுக்கு. I mean, just add something to the noun to call it to where you're going to, right? So putting postposition to me is a natural evolution of a natural language compared to when you have to put a separate word ahead of the object. You know what I mean? Am I making myself clear there?
This is where I would like to talk to a trained linguist and see what is it that Noam Chomsky thought about it. Because Noam Chomsky seems to believe that all of us are born with a consistent set of grammar. Everybody, all human beings. So languages are really expressions of that built-in grammar. If that's the case, how does he explain this much variation among human languages?
No, Peggy also mentions the same thing. Like when she talks of in the first chapter, she's saying like that the Creole formation is based on some human ability of the first generation of the kids. It is mentioned in page 13 or 12. She's also making that point. So I have to check. She's saying there is an inherent capability for the first generation kids of the slaves to form the grammar structure. That is, she's mentioning in her book actually.
Yeah, the first chapter it is mentioned like this actually. The first generation children, even the grammar also, I think few sentences it is indirectly means like it comes from the mind or something like that.
Yeah, innate ability.
Yeah,
innate ability of
listening
human beings. That
and
is
mind
what.
from the, please.
Yeah, that is what Noam Chomsky advocated. And in fact, I was wondering when all of these AI models were able to really do a good chat, I was wondering whether it cracked this human grammar. If that is possible, they should be able to translate any human language at any point, because that is the ultimate code, if there is one.
No, I'm thinking the other way around also. If they may form their own language and then they can communicate in that language which we may, no one of us may be knowing it also.
Yeah, that already has happened. AI machines talk to each other in their language that we cannot understand. So they had to put in a code that says, please don't do that. Do not talk to each other amongst yourself in a secret language. That was, this is about 10 years ago.
You mean they talk to each other in binary?
Not just binary. Binary is something that we can crack. No, they encoded something else. They sent secret messages. They didn't think of that as a secret message. It's a language that they created because that is efficient, and they don't need to use the human expression for a lot of the stuff. Binary is something that's trivial. Humans can interpret it.
It is converted to
it's only converted.
Machine, bit section.
Yeah, that's easy. But they had created they developed their own language. You can Google it. Google had to step in and say, don't do it.
Thank you. These are new insights for me.
Oh my God.
Machines would do that. I wasn't very surprised by that. Machines probably don't even think that it's secretive or it is efficient for them. From their perspective, human languages are complicated. They don't need to do all of this.
What I understand in the computerization system and all, the code is being generated with a certain rules and certain things. So you can understand, மாடு கவ் அப்படின்னு எடுத்துக்கிட்டா நமக்கு வந்து ஒரு certain things are there. அது பால் கொடுக்கும், அதுக்கு ஒரு 4 கால் இருக்கும், ஒரு வால் இருக்கும், கொம்பு இருக்கும், அதுக்கு தலை முன்னாடி தான் இருக்கும், தலை பின்னாடி இருக்காது, அது தலை நடுவுல இருக்காது. ஸோ இது செட் ஆஃப் ரூல் மாதிரி தான் நம்ம கம்ப்யூட்டரைசேஷன் கோடு. அது இல்லாம ஒரு புது மை காட் நான் படிச்சு பார்க்கறேன் இதெல்லாம். It is very interesting to think of it, or it is alarming to me basically.
It was alarming when the news broke. It was alarming.
இல்ல சார், நம்ம தமிழ்ல காவை எடுத்துட்டு பேசுவாங்க தெரியுங்க. I think மேடம் கீதா may be knowing it.
Pig Latin. It's kana kama that's thing, right?
Every word, Geeta ma'am, Tamil, what they do, they add ka with every letter. So like this,
we had this in school. We used to play with this game.
Yes. So like this, the computer is making something we don't know that.
Yeah, past time, shall we bring it to a closure?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But before you do that, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you.
Session.
Yeah,
Thanks
this is
for
a
your
complicated
questions.
topic. Yeah, thanks for
Well,
all of you.
we're all learning.
Active presence.
If it has stimulated you into thinking, that is really the very purpose.
Right.
None of us are experts, but we are learning.
Thank you. Thank you, Mani Ayya, for your very insightful presentations. Actually, you are supposed to talk about chapter 3, but you had also consolidated the previous chapters and gave us a very good overview, connecting the dots together as we discussed last week. If we read it again and again, it becomes better. So you had done that exercise now today, and it was quite useful. And thank you all participants for an enlightening or stimulating discussions. We not only talked about ergativity, but also many other things related to languages and linguistic models. So let's continue to have the same enthusiasm and learn more and more. And also thanks to the RMRL team for the YouTube live streaming and other technical help. So let's all meet next week. Chapter 4, it would be by Ms. Subhatra. She'll be talking about the Indus Valley language, the search of language X. So we don't know what that language, so let's see what is in the store. So let's meet again next Saturday, same time, 9 p.m. Till then, bye-bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.